Hey, I'm Rachel Hession, the creator and host of the Springboard Music Podcast. And this season, you'll be hearing from
President, Jesus Culture Music,
the Executive Director,
a Production Manager,
the SVP of Marketing and Digital,
lead YouTube operations,
the CEO at Adarga Entertainment Group.
And you're listening to the Springboard
Music Podcast.
I feel like my consistent journey is I should not be here, that I don't deserve to be here. I did not go to film school. I did not do all the stuff that people say that you're supposed to do. It was just step by step, the Lord opening up doors for me and me just trying to, on the back end, honor what's been given to me and work my tail off so that people would be like, I'm really happy I gave him that opportunity, because 9 times out of 10, I should not have gotten what I got.
Tristan Cusick's story is quite extraordinary. Contrary to a lot of the other conversations we've had on this podcast, Tristan started his own company in the music industry without really working for any other company in the industry prior. This conversation holds a lot of value. We talk about what it's like hiring your own employees, building a network from scratch, and how you build a reputation in the industry based off of your own merit. I cannot wait for you to hear this episode, as it's one that I think holds a ton of value to a lot of entrepreneurs in our industry. Well, what I was saying though, Taylor Swift got me into George Strait because of her song. She did a cover years ago of Run by George Strait. And I didn't know.
I don't even know that one. And I just saw him 2 days in a row in Fort Worth. That shows your boy got into this world, not because I was a country music fan, just because I picked up a camera and opportunity just kept showing up. And so I'm still learning. What is it, 6 years in, and still don't really know any George Strait songs, but I just opened a door to hopefully figure something out now.
You did. You are on the path to knowledge after going to 2 of his shows.
Yeah, Mr. Strait, buddy, you got yourself a new fan. He was sweet. For a 72-year-old, he rocked it. He looked good for 72.
He's 72?
And a handsome 72 at that. He would kill it.
No, that makes me feel so old.
He was a rock star. Got up there and brought it.
That's amazing. So I'm curious, you mentioned like picked up a camera and now here you are. You weren't like on the mission to do country music. Where did the passion for content creation come from? Or was it a passion?
It was, I think, more of a curiosity than a passion. I picked up a camera in the summer of 2016. And I'm not very good at like kind of doing anything. Either I really care about it or something, or I really don't. I, at the time, was working at a church and just as like a ministry assistant, thought I was going to be a pastor one day, and was working at the church and was putting in 20 hours a week. And that's all they gave me. And I was really bored outside of that. And so I went home, picked up my camera that my mom took like high school football photos of me with, and just dove in real hard. I fell in love with the music world. And it sounds silly, but the Chainsmokers were super progressive in like 2015, 2016 when it came to like on the road tour content. There's this guy named Roy Kramer who I've looked up to since the beginning. And he was just making these like recap videos for them that were just like fun and made you want to be best friends with them, and also made you want to go to a show. And so I think from that, I fell in love with like the performance side of music, just seeing an artist look really cool. Has always just like weirdly been a passion of mine, just trying to make somebody feel really confident and comfortable and really bring fun energy. A lot of my team make fun of me because I don't really listen to music for lyrics. And like all of them just like love all these sad songs that are brilliantly written. And I'll just turn on a song that's EDM and just like bop. And all of them are just like, why do you like this? I'm just like, makes me feel good. It's fun. And so through that, Chainsmokers were kind of like an intro to me of what that creative photo video world looked like. And so I just picked up a camera and would make like little recap videos with my friends going down to Nashville, and just fun life stuff that was upbeat and just made me smile. And so started doing that. God was just really faithful and opened up a lot of doors. I got pretty good pretty quick. Just because, again, the whole obsessive thing. 3 months in, I bought like 2 new cameras, had no money to be able to do that, but sold everything I had to do it. And a buddy of mine, Garrett Klein, played bass for a guy named Dylan Scott at the time. And he was just like, hey, dude, you got kind of good at camera stuff. Do you want to come out on the road with us and Dylan? I think there could be a fun opportunity. Like, I couldn't guarantee you any money, but it could be a cool opportunity with you getting some fun stuff and could be free content for Dylan. I was like, yeah, dude, just let me know. I'll skip class. I think I was a sophomore in college at the time, sophomore, junior.
Wait, how did you know that buddy?
He was like a mentor of mine. So his
From
name's Garrett
church?
Klein, from another church in Bowling Green. So my wife was on the dance team at WKU. She is a rock star, such a brilliant and talented chick. And she was on the dance team at WKU, and through FCA, she met a awesome woman named Jacqueline Klein, who's Garrett's wife. And so through that, I got to know Garrett, and he became a mentor of mine. And yeah, just from that, he was like, "Hey, dude, you should come on the road." And so little 19-year-old Tristan was like, "All right, bud, like, why not? That sounds fun." 19, 20, I can't even remember what I was, but
Time, are you still like in your mind, you're like, I'm still going to be a pastor. This is just
oh
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And so the way that all built out is I went on the road with Dylan for that first weekend, and I had a blast. I had so much fun, just getting the opportunity to do something that I felt like I was like really hyped up to do, even though I was only like 3 months in. And I remember Dylan handing me like $200 in like merch cash at the end of the weekend, which is just money that Dylan gets for selling merch on the weekend. A lot of it's cash. And so he handed me that, and I was just like, now we're talking. This is money. I thought I was like wealthy. I skipped rich, went straight to wealthy. And it was just fun. And he asked me to come out a couple more times. And so over the next probably like year, 2 years, I would periodically pop out on the road with Dylan and try to hop on opportunities, and but still working at the church. Still thought I was going to be a pastor.
So like right now, it's like a hobby side gig.
Yeah, I was still working my 20 hours a week at the church, still doing like your normal full-time schedule as a college student, but just was very nice to my professors, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, go on tour just as long as you get your work done." And so I was balancing a lot of stuff at the time, and then over the next 2 years was continuing touring and doing stuff like that. Shot a couple weddings as well, and then through that, it was really a lot going on. I got married going into my senior year. Dylan asked me to come on the road pretty much full time. Was working 20 hours a week at the church, was doing full-time hours in college, and doing them all really poorly.
I'm sitting here thinking about that. I'm like, okay, just doing college and going on the road, knowing road life, that's really hard. But then college, road, trying to build a home life and routine with somebody else. And then also 20 hours, like part-time working at a church, which church life is not 20 hours. We all know that. Like on paper, maybe, but it's not. How, I mean, like you said, you were doing it all poorly, but how long did that poor season last?
Longer than it should have. I would say I did that for probably like 3 months, and just slowly recognized that like I was not able to give any of those things what I had hoped, and like the way that I would like to do anything in my life is hopefully excellent, and I was just not excellent in either of them. And so I was watching a show called Parks and Rec, and there's a moment where two of the characters are talking, and to say it nicely, one character says it to the other, "Don't half but two things, whole but one thing." And that was just a dagger in my heart, and just took some time to really like sit down and evaluate what I felt called to do for a season.
Wow.
I felt called
Parks and Rec bringing life change to the world.
Ron Swanson, I mean, a modern day Gandhi, you know what I mean? Quotes for days. And so through that, God just gave me a lot of peace of mind going into the creative world, which I wasn't expecting. And so I just tried to hop on that and run with it. And he's just been really faithful since. And so that was kind of the journey to just working full time, I guess, in the creative world.
So when you were looking at your full plate and you're like, all right, something's got to go, you dropped the church work.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm still going to get my degree, even though I have a full-time job on the road.
Yeah. That's just called stubborn right there. I probably could have just dropped out and been fine. I advocate for people to be able to test the waters. College isn't for everybody. College isn't needed for everybody. For me, I got so far in that I was just like, I'm going to freaking do it. I don't care what it costs. But yeah, it just looked like me doing a lot of homework on the tour bus, which was not very fun. But it was just one of those things that made a commitment, and I just wanted to honor it. I don't know if that's for everybody, but for me, I just kind of had a conviction where it's just, I don't know if it was parents really wanting me to go to college. I was the first in my family to really go to college out of my little inner pocket.
Wow.
And so I was just like, I'm already here. So by my senior year, it wasn't quite as hard. I had a golf class that I had to skip a few times, which I was pretty bummed about. But But the professor was pretty chill, and he just said, dude, you can skip as much as you want as long as you come back and at the end of the semester play a round of 9 with me. And I was just like, I can do that, bud.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, college was tough for me.
I think people don't understand or maybe don't realize yet, if they're still new to the music industry, that golf is a very strong subculture. That's just kind of a really good foreshadowing of the Lord to give you the golf skill coming into this industry.
Oh, you would think. But I will say, I think that round of 9 that I played with that professor was the last round that I played in the last 6 years. I will say it's a huge part of the music industry. I feel left out sometimes that I'm garbage because I'm in this duality of I don't want to play anything I'm not good at, but you have to play to get good at something.
What's your Enneagram?
It's a 3.
Yeah, because that's me too.
I'm a strong 3. Yeah.
I've been trying to pick up golf because, like we just established, it's a huge part of this industry. And right now it's a huge part of the men's culture. And so I went out and bought my own set of clubs and I am going to the golf course, but no way am I going to anything yet. I am going to make sure that I do not hit 115.
Dude, I respect that you're even picking it up and going because so much of me is just like, bro, I just don't want to look like a scrub. And so respect that you're hitting the ground running and you're going for it. I'm sure you'll be solid soon. But
when you first picked up a camera, it was just like an interest, a hobby. And then you got this amazing opportunity with Dylan Scott. Obviously, the guy who shot for the Chainsmokers in 2015, 2016, he was a huge inspiration for you. How else did you figure out your creative lens for Tristan?
Oh, man. Great question. I think for me, it was just a lot of trial and error. I've never been the guy who was a movie aficionado. I don't know the right word exactly, but I've never been a film guy, which is funny because I'm a director now. But I never was the kid who grew up watching movies. I was a kid who liked a lot of television and a lot of stuff. But really thinking back on it, I was a kid who would have MTV on a lot. And a lot of the time it would be music videos playing on in the background. I would come back home from a football practice and just turn on MTVU, which was a thing at that time. I don't even know if it's on TV anymore. I haven't had cable since 2014 or 2015 when I moved out of my house. Now, MTVU was like a staple in my room, and I would just watch all these music videos growing up. And it was just, it was just fun to watch. For me, I've always been, I like having a visual with music, just for something to think of while I'm listening to something. I just remember watching music videos and then I would hear a song and I would think of the music video. And so for long-winded, but for me to be able to just say what I like, it's just a lot of trial and error. I have no formal training. I never went to film school. I almost took a photography class in college and then out of pure stubbornness and pride, I was just I don't want to take it to say I never took a photography class. Yeah, and that's just me being a butt. But and so I think for me it was a lot of learning on the fly, trying something, realizing I did not like that, and then trying again. And eventually you figure out what you like and what you don't, and that becomes your look, I guess.
So you're on the road with Dylan Scott, you're newly married, you're finishing up your degree. What happens between then and starting up your own company?
Yeah, COVID. And so that's fun. So started shooting Dylan back in 2016 or 17, would work with him a good bit, and then would also work with a guy named Mitchell Tenpenny, who I got connected with through a mutual friend named Dallas Wilson, and started shooting for Mitchell, tour and all that kind of stuff. And then COVID happened, which obviously shut down my entire world. As someone who toured, I think some people are made for tour and others aren't. I'm one of those people who would say I was not built for tour. I'm an introvert. I was an only child. And so I like my space and I like quiet, and tour does not really afford that. And so, I really realized that I missed home a lot when I went on tour. I'll still tour once a quarter, just to pop out and make some fun stuff and hang out with people. And it's really intimate. You can build good relationships with artists, but I just realized tour wasn't for me. And so tail end of 2019, I was starting to think about, okay, what do I want? Other than actually being on the road with people, touring is really, can be really lonely. just when you're at home and you're just by yourself all week. And so I realized from an early point, I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, a team. I feel like God's been one of the things that I feel like I'm kind of good at is like leadership and people. And so I knew I wanted to be a part of something, a team, something bigger than myself. And so I was trying to start scheming of how I could get off the road, and COVID expedited that process. I was on the road with Dylan at the top end of 2020, and then had my bag packed to fly out to, I believe it was Spokane, Washington. And I remember receiving a text and saying like, "Hey, this whole COVID thing's kind of starting to really pop up. We might have to cancel our first show." I was like, "All right, whatever. Like, I mean, bags packed, I'm ready to go if need be." And then within a span of like 3 hours, it went from like, "Hey, this show's canceled. Hey, this 2 week run's canceled. Hey, there's just no more touring for forever." And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, there goes all of my income as a 21-year-old newly married guy, trying to provide for my family." So I was like, "All right, that's going to change some stuff." But that takes care of the whole touring thing. And so little did I think all of us know that was going to last for a very long time. And so rode the wave. My wife actually got in the doctorate program at Belmont for occupational therapy. And so that was our justification, because all of that time I was living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, going to Western Kentucky. And then so that was our like justified reason to move down to Nashville. In the middle of the pandemic is a super fun time to move to a new city.
Hey, housing prices are really cheap though.
Well, yeah, rent was decent. And yeah, so landed in Nashville during the middle of COVID. And I think I just kind of had to look at myself in the mirror and just say, all right, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to try this whole freelance thing for a long time, or do you want to try to work yourself into something? Especially in a season where I knew nobody coming to Nashville. I mean, only knew basically Mitchell Tenpenny's camp from tour and Dylan's camp from tour, and that was it. And so what I decided to do was make a rule for myself to DM 5 new people every day, or every weekday for like, I think it was like 2 or 3 months. And I mean to tell you, maybe 5% of those people hit me back. But that just unafraid DMing of a lot of people, I think, is a huge reason why I am where I am today. It helped build this small little community that I had whenever I first moved to Nashville. And I mean, most people were like, "Dude, I don't know who you are. It's a pandemic right now. I don't want to get coffee with you." And I'm like, "Yo, respect." But yeah, some people hit me back, and that became a creative community that I had. Some work friends, some just normal friends, but that got me to my next step where the world started opening up again. August 2020, I shot behind the scenes for a music video for Mitchell Tenpenny.
Wait, what kind of, like, when you were searching for people to DM?
Yeah.
Who were you searching for? Were you searching for other content creators? Were you searching for managers, for artists? What was kind of your parameter?
Yes. To all of those. I think I was connecting with a lot of other creatives to be able to build some community in town. Managers, I think I realized, were a lot more accessible than artists were. To be able to say, "Hey, I'd love to shoot a show for your artist," since their DMs aren't as quite full as somebody who is famous, I guess you could say. There was just a lot higher response rate with managers than anybody else. Because they're always trying to find ways to elevate their artists, look for new talent to be able to bring in and really support their artists. And so managers were a great way.
How did you find those managers when you don't know?
You learn how to stalk on the internet.
What was your search engine?
Bro, I felt like a stalker for a hot minute. I mean, I can find some stuff on the internet pretty quick now, which it's kind of weird, but it works. But yeah, I think for me, it was a lot of just being diligent. I think if you work hard enough, you can find whatever you want on the internet. And I was able to find managers. I was able to find labels. And then you go on LinkedIn, and then you try to find something on LinkedIn, and then you pop over to Instagram and see if you can find them on Instagram. You see if they're private. You see if they're public.
No, but it's there. Yeah. Like, people volunteer putting themselves on these platforms. Mm-hmm. So utilize it. That's something that people have asked, like, how do you find people to interview, especially for that first season that I did? And I was like, you would not believe the abilities of LinkedIn. You can search a company name, a job title, and then you can just find
Yeah.
people. And I think that is one of the most underused networking tools, which is ironic considering it's built for networking.
I think it's so underutilized in our specific format. I think in entertainment industry, everybody thinks like, oh, like LinkedIn is for old people or for corporate boring people. And Instagram's the only way to go. I think LinkedIn's a really solid opportunity. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as curated as an Instagram or something like that, but I mean, years ago, I mean, I'll even just say like 15, 20 years ago, to be able to think that you can DM or like talk to The Rock would have been impossible. But as weird as it is, you can DM whoever you want. Like it is an open network to be able to reach out to, I mean, a president. Like you can DM POTUS. Like, are they going to respond? Probably not. But there's an opportunity to talk to anybody. And so I think the way that you make it in this entertainment industry is just by like, go get it. I mean, it's either you are so talented, people will find you, and I'm just not that person. I think there's a very rare amount of people in this industry that are actually like that. And if you think you are, that means you're not that person. Um, but I think you just have to have a desire to go get it. You have to want it more than everybody else and be willing to work harder than everybody else. And so I DM'd everybody and their mom to be able to try to get some meetings. And I only got 5-10% of the people that hit me back. But if you just keep swinging, eventually you'll hit. And so I made a good little community, try to honor people really well, love them really well, not ask for too much. Like you just really try to not lead with a request, you lead with value, and just trying to take care of people really well. I didn't learn much in college, but there was one thing in our philosophy program that we had talked about, and because I minored in that, and they said, don't see people as a means to an end, just see them as an end. Um, Not just seeing
Ooh.
people as an opportunity to be able to get you where you want to go, or to take you to that next step, or be able to financially provide for you. Just care for them because they're them. I'm a Christian. That's a big part of what I am. And so I believe we're all created equal in the image of God. And so just caring for people because they're people, whether they're a janitor or they're a CEO, trying to love and honor them well. And I'm by no means perfect at that. You can probably even ask my team sometimes and they'll probably give you some stories, but just really trying to walk in the room and honor people well, and not be there because of what they can get you, but just care for them because they're interesting and worthy of being cared for themselves. And so I think if you can carry that mentality and work really hard, then you can get whatever you want in this industry. And so long-winded, but that leads me to August 2020, did a behind the scenes photo video thing for Mitchell. He had a song called Broken Up. And while we were on set there, his manager, Tristan, and I were just joking around, and they had said that they've got a song coming out on January 1st of 2021 called Bucket List. And so we were cutting up just about like content ideas. Like, what if we just went out to Sedona and spent a week out there and just did some cool stuff, and like we had some pretty pictures. And so I just like off rip was just like, what if we just took the label's money and did our own bucket list? And they're like, just both looked at me and were like, yes. And I was just like, oh, okay. I've never done a music video before, but I didn't present that, but I was like, yeah, we can do that. And inside I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, you're not just like doing a music video. You're doing a music video in potentially high stress situations to accomplish a bucket list.
Yeah. Your boy jumped in head first. So they said okay, which is hilarious, and they probably shouldn't have, but they did. And so we went out and spent 5 days in Arizona, checking off our bucket list. We did Monument Valley, Grand Canyon. We did 4x4s in Sedona. We got a lake or a boat on Lake Powell. We rode horses in Monument Valley. Like, we just did an incredible bucket list and recorded it. And so it was a music video. We got a couple dope performance scenes in between of Mitchell just crushing it. And so that was my first music video. I mean, two or three panic attacks later, we made it.
I mean, hats off to you though, because I checked the numbers today, 3.3 million YouTube views on that music video.
It's hilarious. I mean, just
and it's your first ever music video.
It's just silly. I feel so blessed to have been able to do that one for Mitchell, and the fact that him and his team trusted me is wild. But yeah, it was a lot of learning. Thankfully, I had a team that helped me out. I like directed, produced, and edited or whatever, but that we had a team that helped us be able to afford it, which was a team that kind of helped set up this brand partnership for Department of Tourism for Arizona that kind of bankrolled this video, which was so sick. And they helped us figure out some logistics and stuff. And so without them and the Department of Tourism for Arizona kind of pushing on the national government to give us the filming permits for this would not have happened. And so there were a couple bumps along the way, but we came out on the other side and had a really cool piece that I honestly don't know if it would have happened any other time in life where because literally on that trip, it was just me, Kristen, Mitchell's manager, Mitchell, and Mitchell's now wife, Megan, Patrick. The four of us flew out and just drove around in a rental car around Arizona. And with Mitchell's tour schedule and Megan's tour schedule, I don't know if that would have been able to happen any other time other than in the middle of a pandemic. But yeah, it was a really sweet kickoff to being a director. So
Was that the kickoff to starting your own company? You're like, all right, well, I guess I am now a 1099, so I need to figure that out.
So that led me into probably another 6 months of working as a freelancer before my first hire in July of 22. I brought on a guy to my team as like an editor co-creative who's an absolute rock star and just helped me bring on bandwidth. And so I consider that as like my official start as Cusick Media. Brought him on, created an LLC, started paying him, had payroll, which like is terrifying. Like I was just like, all right, cool. Like I can figure out how to like put food on the table for me and my wife, but now I've got to do it for somebody else, which is a responsibility that I did not take lightly. And so there were a lot of nights where I'm like, dude, what did I get myself into? How am I going to make this happen? But time and time again, the Lord provided and we're here. And so, yeah. And then it's been a really sweet process along the way. I have been able to hire a couple more people to my team and that have just allowed me to do what I'm really good at. It's taken me a while to learn that I can let go a lot. I kind of got in people's way just because I was used to doing everything. But now it's really sweet. I've got an incredible team that are very talented and very sweet and skilled and good with people and fun and such a good culture where I just feel so blessed to be able to try to lead them well and also just direct and cast some vision.
For anyone who is a fan of the podcast or a fan of Tristan, there is a mutual connection between the two of us getting together, and it is all thanks to Alex Mock because Alex works for Tristan and she does all of the video editing for the Springboard Music Podcast and has since the beginning. And she is incredible, an amazing gem, such a good hang, so on it. So I know we're both really grateful to have her. And so it's really fun that we get to do this together with that connection too.
And so if I look not very cool, blame it on Alex, or if I look like cool, then blame it on Alex because she's a rock star. I mean, she's been such a sweet just addition to this team. She came on in July of 23 and has just brought such a sweet spirit. She's such a hard worker and a kick butt editor too. She's made some stuff that I've shot by myself that I was like, oh God, I don't know how that's going to end up. And it like looks good. And I'm like, all right, you wizard. I don't know how you did it, but let's keep it going.
As an employer, I'm curious because I think a lot of creatives toy with, do I just go contract? Do I like build a whole company? Do I go work for a company? For somebody who's out in the workforce looking for work, do you prefer to like create a position for somebody full time, or are you like, oh, there's a lot of benefit to contract work?
Man, that's a great question. I think it just depends. For me, I love people so much that if there's ever a position that I can justify hiring a full-time employee for, I'm going to do it. There's a lot of responsibility in the sense that I have to pay their salary every 2 weeks. But for me, I just think you can create such an intimacy with people coming on full time that's why I'm such a big fan of it. I also like working as a team. I like operating with people rather than having so many contractors. Don't get me wrong. Like when we've got a team of 4, and so we're able to knock out a lot of like mid to small shoots by ourselves because we've got me as the director, Brecken Hobbs, who's incredible as our producer. We've got Will Smitherman as our DP, who has turned into an absolute rock star. And then, as we've mentioned, Alex Mock's our editor. And so with that little crew, like we're able to knock out a good bit of stuff. But when it comes to something that we really want to do well or that we can justify with a budget, bringing people on for, we always try to bring on talented contractors like a gaffer grip, all that kind of stuff within a production crew that we can't necessarily justify having on full time. And we've got our little crew of people that we love that are kind of like our extended family, we would call them.
What are some aspects to owning your own business and hiring actual employees, not just contracted people, that when you started, you didn't see fully until once you got into it?
Dude, I had no idea what I was doing when I started, to be blunt. I was just a kid with a camera that just, for some reason, was able to get some other people to believe in what we were doing and hop on. And so I think the things that I didn't really look into was like systems. They sound super boring, but are so important. I had no systems. Every shoot was just like, all right, we got it. Let's figure out how to do it. And then afterwards, we're like, oh, okay. So we should have done that. We probably should have done this. And so I think systems were something that I didn't really recognize. I would say my team's been really gracious to me in allowing me some time to be able to learn how to lead well and to be able to delegate responsibility well. I have learned to give up things that I don't necessarily have to do. And that's something I'm continuing to learn right now, is that if somebody on my team can do it 60% as good as I can, all the way up to better than I can, then I need to give it to them. I held on to a lot of job responsibilities that I probably didn't need to for a long time, to where now I feel really confident and comfortable. Just like, if my team can do it, give it to them. And just stand right in their shadow and just so they can turn around and ask me questions if they have any. But I feel like it went from a position of leading from the front to now trying to lead from behind, to where if they make a mistake, no worries. That's a part of the game. But I'm behind them to try to be able to talk it through and say, hey, what happened? What can we do better next time? Is there any questions that you have for me? And so I think like learning how to lead well, because I think as a freelancer, especially coming into being a CEO or whatever you would call it, I think I had to learn to lead and trust a lot more than what I initially had. Just being a freelancer where I would do everything myself and I was comfortable with the control and all that kind of stuff, but learning to kind of walk a little bit more open-handed has been a good lesson, and ultimately like has allowed me to be so much more productive. I feel like there's a lot of things that I can do, but only a few things that I'm actually good at. And so being able to be afforded the opportunity to do the things I feel like the Lord's calling me to do is such a sweet blessing that I'm able to now experience, because my team are incredible and just allow me to have the bandwidth to do the things I love and that energize me.
You've mentioned your faith several times throughout this interview, and I'm sitting here wondering, is this a role or a job where your job is to execute the vision regardless of your morals? Or do you see the work that you do as a reflection of where you stand on things? How do you ride that line in a creative world?
There's been a few opportunities where I've had to kind of pivot out of just because I don't agree with some of the creative, not on necessarily like I'm too cool to do someone else's vision, but just a couple times where I've just had to like kind of stand on my own convictions. Try to be able to balance that really well without ruffling feathers. It's a hard balance, because ultimately like I run a company that works for other people. But yeah, with that, like leading with love and honor, no matter what it looks like, not throwing my hands up and being frustrated or being rude by any means, but trying to love people really well. And I think for me, like faith has just been something that has been like super necessary for me. I know that not everybody has a spiritual background or faith or anything like that, but there's been a lot of times where I've gotten down and in a really tough place and have me like been face first on this carpet over here, just like, Lord, like I don't know where my next job's going to come from. I've tried everything. I mean, I've knocked on every door. I feel like I've knocked on went out there to say, hey, do y'all need any work? I went out and touched my entire Rolodex and nothing's going on and payroll's happening in 2 weeks. God, I don't know what to do. And then like just having that kind of open-handed trust is how I'm continuously brought back to where if I like close grip it and I just think like, oh, I'm gonna bring this to the finish line, I always find myself struggling. And then whenever I'm like, all right, Lord, like show me where you want me to go. Like this company's yours. Cusick Media, even though it's got my last name, is not mine. You're the one who gave this to me, and you're the one that opens up all the doors for me. Opportunities come, and it's hilarious. Like it's so funny that I'll constantly come back to like trying to white knuckle something to finish on, and then it'll be me face down on the carpet again. He's been so faithful to me throughout this entire process, and just trying to honor it well. Um, yeah, I feel like my consistent journey is I should not be here. That I don't deserve to be here. I did not go to film school. I did not do all the stuff that people say that you're supposed to do. It was just step by step the Lord opening up doors for me, and me just trying to on the back end honor what's been given to me and work my tail off so that people would be like, I'm really happy I gave him that opportunity. Because 9 times out of 10, I should not have gotten what I got. So
I think there's like a spirit of gratitude
yeah.
in that too, and humility that it's palatable when people interact with you. You know, you said you should not have had a lot of the opportunities that you've had. You didn't go to film school. It wasn't like your vision or your path that you were on from the beginning. But for somebody, say in Bowling Green or Sioux Falls or Boise, Idaho, who like it is their path, it is their vision, what would you say to them now being a few years into it professionally, running your own company? What would you say to them of like whether it's something practical, like know this equipment, know this software, do like network with these people, or whether it's something more intrinsic of like this
Yeah.
headspace, this
No, that's really good.
posture?
My advice to somebody wanting to get into this industry is just do it. You can study a lot, and that's great. Like to be obsessed, to be able to learn a lot of equipment and all that kind of stuff is like really helpful because when you get that opportunity, you're going to want to know that. But I think for me, like as someone who didn't go to film school, it would have been beneficial. But to just do it is how you learn. If I have any encouragement, if you want to get in the music video space, if you want to get on the commercial space, um, just be around and like network your tail off and work really hard when you get an opportunity. I think tangibly, being in a town where production exists is like a non-negotiable. There's been a couple younger people who have reached out to me to talk about, hey, how do I get in the industry? And they live in Iowa. You can't, I mean, unless there's like a strong production presence there, you can't do it. You have to be in a Nashville, LA, New York, or Atlanta. Probably. I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions, but you have to be around. What I've found in this industry, I feel like I've been the lucky one that's found the back door. I didn't do film school. I've never really directed anything until I got my first music video. I'm unbelievably blessed and lucky to be able to do that. But it's because I've been around. It's been relationships that have got me in the door, not because of talent or existing portfolio work or anything like that. It was me building trust with people that have said like, yeah, I want to give you a shot. And then me not knowing what I'm doing, but saying, yeah, I can do that. And then you figure it out as you go. And so I would say a mix between just build relationships with other creatives because they'll get you on sets. Everybody, especially in Nashville, people want to see other people win. And so build relationships. Don't be afraid to DM people to be able to ask them to go get coffee. I feel like that's been um, almost like a part of my brand up to this point is just trying to buy everybody coffee. I'm not a guy who like goes out to bars much. There's a lot of people who hustle and make all their relationships by going out to bars on Broadway or in Midtown, and that's just not my brand. I like tequila, and that's great, but you won't catch me in Midtown on a Tuesday. That's just not. I'm at home hanging out with my wife and my dog. But yeah, dude, like you can go a long way by just getting coffee with people and being around. And so just do everything you can to try to get on set. Um, Nashville production industry is a big how's your hang culture. If people like hanging out with you, they'll find a way to get you on a set. I feel like that's the only reason I stuck around with Dylan. That's the only reason I probably stuck around with Mitchell for a long time before I really like knew what I was doing. Is I just tried to love everybody on that bus really well. And so I think it reflects the same way within kind of like the on-set culture. We hire a lot that way. Obviously, people that are incredibly talented that we believe in, but because we really like hanging out with them on these film days, we've got 12 hours that we're probably going to spend together straight. And a lot of stuff can go wrong and probably will go wrong on a set. And so if you're able to adjust to it well and have fun and enjoy it and not be too much or like too reclusive, then that's how you get called back because it's a small town. It is a very small town. I remember hearing it one of the first times I shot a show in Nashville. One of the other photographers was just saying Nashville's a small town with a lot of people. Um, and so especially this little music industry itself, there's like, it looks really big, but it's really not. Everybody eventually gets to know each other. And I think that's a really big blessing if you care for people really well, because everybody talks and will throw your name around. But also it works the opposite way too. If you burn a bridge, then people will know.
It has a weeding out
Absolutely.
process that is just organic.
Which I think is just really healthy. I really hope Nashville keeps that for a long time. I can't say that I've been a part of building that culture by any means, but I hopefully will be a part of developing that culture and continuing it forward. Being owning this company, I guess it's exists for like 2 years now. But yeah, it's just trying to make sure that you care for people really well. And if you do that, then you'll be very successful in this town.
Typically, when we wrap up an interview, I end with, do you believe you're living the dream? But I feel like I want to ask you a different question
Okay.
to wrap up. And I know so many people will say, like, what advice would you give to your past self? And I don't want to do that. I do things a little differently. I want to know, with where you're at today or what you've walked through, what you hope to keep in mind for your future self.
Geez, heavy hitter. I would say, don't forget where you started. And I feel like that's kind of cliche, but I get really wrapped up in what's currently going on and where I'm going. I've got big dreams and aspirations with this company in a lot of different directions. I want to go and grow it. But I think being grateful and humble, remembering where I'm coming from, and just like the excitement that I had as a kid getting into this. I think I get so logistical and organized and focused on the future and numbers and all that kind of stuff that I forget how much fun I had doing that first run with Dylan years ago. Just as like a happy kid who like came on the road and was so green and had no idea what he was doing. But I think if I can continue going forward and just like appreciate the opportunities that I get, I think it's easy to get caught up in the rat race in this town and to see on social media what everybody else is doing and to be able to lose track of like the why of why you're doing it. It becomes such a business and all that kind of stuff, but kind of just like slowing down and remembering, hey, you were a kid who like was so grateful for an opportunity to go on the road for free. And I remember getting handed that $200 in cash at the end of that weekend and just thinking, this is it. Yeah, I just think if I could remember something as I continue to grow in this industry and get older, just don't forget where I started. The passion that I had, the excitement, the curiosity, and keeping that, I think would be fun for Tristan 5 years from now, and even Tristan right now, to be able to live out.
Thanks for listening to the Springboard Music Podcast. If there's something that resonated with you in this episode, or an episode that you would like for us to create in the future, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at Springboard Music on Instagram.